So first of all, I want to say thank you so much. I just found out about you, I think 2 weeks ago, and you have such a freeing, loving, like aura, like so expressive, and I feel like it gives freedom to a lot of people. So thank you. I want to
Oh,
just say that.
nice.
Yeah,
Good. Thanks for
uh,
saying that.
of course. And my question is, I I started my spiritual, so to say, spiritual journey. I know everything is spiritual, but with like teachings of Abraham Hicks. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
locate with Abraham.
with the law of attraction,
Yeah.
and with like Neville Goddard, the wish fulfilled, and that gave me a lot of um, success, so to say. I know non-duality is more based on um, to be the observer, and that's what I found out um, a little later because I was more focused on uh, manifestation, I guess, or creating success in my life, with which I had some great successes job wise. I have a social media following, to say, or like a TikTok following where I talk about spirituality too. But my question is about the freedom aspect of non-duality, because I I practice what you said. I practice. I asked myself. I went on a hike and I asked myself, who is the who's that person who thinks he has to be successful? Who's that person
Yeah.
who thinks he has to um, sort of say all these thoughts that you usually have as a person, right? To um, I don't know, be happy is something natural, but all these other thoughts that came up that I can't think of right now, I guess,
Yeah, yeah.
that gave me a lot of like freedom. And I was in this state that I would say, like with Eckhart Tolle, when you like who looks through my eyes right now, and it was this
Yeah.
complete freedom that I experienced, that I think you speak about. At the same time, in those moments, I still had the feeling that, and I'm still having the feeling right now, complete in my inner core, that I want to have a joyful life. I want to express myself as much as I can and be successful, not to get approval of other people, but to have a joyful life, I guess.
Yeah.
And my question is, from your experience, I mean, I know you have like a huge, like so many videos on your channel, and you had a long spiritual journey. Um, is there a way with non-dual? I don't even want to put it in the box of non-duality. Just from your experience, to because there's so many teachings and it's easy to get confused. Like, and it seems like it changes all the time. Like, I'm drawn to this teaching, and then I'm drawn to that teaching, and then I practice that, and it gives me this high, and I learn something new, and then suddenly I forget about that, and I see that, and then I come back to that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
is there something? Do I just have to figure this out all by myself, or do you have an advice? Is there something to really express yourself and like have a joyful life?
So, could you just go over the question again? Like, is there a particular like a particular path to get to non-duality or to get to freedom?
Um,
Is that what you're asking?
if it had to freedom would be great, because I think freedom is a precursor of having the most joyful and successful life you can, I guess.
Yeah. So I suppose the question is twofold. Like, what's felt
Oh,
here is that, yeah,
oh, you asked me. Oh, to yeah, it's basically how to have the most. And I know successful is very subjective, but because I believe that it's still like life is still, from my experience, it's the more you become free, as you say, or the more what I connected to raise your vibration, because I've seen it from my experience. The more I release things and raise my vibration and come to new levels, the more my outer reality changes.
Yeah, totally.
So from your experience, how to have the most successful
Yeah.
freedom life, if you I think you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do, yeah. So to me, the absolute freedom is non-duality, which is beyond all conditions. So it's beyond what does or doesn't happen in your life. So it's the energetic shift and this knowing beyond the intellect of who you truly are, which is undescribable. Some call it consciousness, some call it beingness, I amness, presence, God, the divine, Brahman. It's named so many different words. Some call it nothing, no thing. And that's the absolute freedom to recognize that beyond the intellect. So not from a personal perspective, but to know it in this moment as you are. So knowing, and this is kind of like an energetic shift as well, like knowing that what's listening to me, or what's hearing me, is going through the ear, which you could say is a headset, like a not a microphone, but a earphone, it's going through a machine called the ear and the hearing system. But what actually hears that is consciousness.
Yeah.
So what actually perceives it isn't the brain, isn't the ear, is something beyond the body-mind mechanism, something beyond the personal. And that is non-divided. So that isn't a separate thing that's hearing. You could say it is the whole of life that is hearing. So everything that's listening. And when that's seen, you go home because it's known what you are on the ultimate level. And there is a deep freedom in that, in knowing that. That's beyond words, that's beyond personality, that's beyond behavior, it's beyond what's manifesting. So that's the ultimate freedom. And then when you're into this subject, there's also then an expression of that happens in life. So when you begin to question who you are, you normally recondition yourself by default. So as soon as you take on new ideas and new experiences and new ways of looking at things, there is a reconditioning of the body that will automatically begin to happen. And when you recondition the body, you're reconditioning the world, because the body and the world are one and the same thing. So if you're having really dark internal experience and you're really depressed and you think life is against you, then that's what will manifest in the outside world. And when you believe that life is giving and positive and will help you, that's what will manifest in the outside world. It's by default. If you believe yourself to be a victim, you're going to attract the perpetrator. If you believe yourself to be a perpetrator, you'll attract the victim. If you believe in goodness, then goodness will begin to manifest. So this change begins to happen in the body, and that's a never-ending expansion that can happen. Like the human experience can endlessly expand.
Yeah.
When I was in India last year, we were sitting down by the river, and this sadhu came up to us, and I'd never heard this before, but it's so obvious. He said that knowledge was infinite, and of course knowledge is infinite because everything's infinite. So life expressed itself as a reflection of your true nature, as the ultimate. It's always expanding. So scientists believe, even though they can't really know, that the universe is infinitely expanding and that everything in the world is growing. It's also circular as well. So sometimes a nice image for that is like a spiral. It's quite contradictory. So, so on the human level, you can infinitely expand to new possibilities. So your success on the human level is always in a place of expansion. There can always be more success. But also when we speak in the relative world about success and failure, we're always in this comparison. So at the same time, you can also see that success is dependent on the idea of failure. So also our ideas of what success is, our ideas of what the best life is, ideas of living a free existence and a happy existence is all conditioned to the way in which we think. So as you begin to recondition into non-duality, you also see the limitation of thinking in opposites. That really maybe success is something that's very personal, not based on comparisons. So one person's success could be being a homeless beggar, and the next person's success could be creating colonies on Mars. So the judgment really falls away of what success is, because we don't really know what that is. It's a very personal feeling. It's what your heart is radiating. And I can see the beauty in being a homeless beggar, because you don't have to consume yourself with detail. You know, if you're really successful and you're sending people to Mars, then there has to be an occupation with detail. So I can see how both have pros and cons. And it's down to what your heart is desiring. And if your heart's desiring simplicity, then maybe being a homeless beggar is perfect. And if your heart is desiring like new adventures and going beyond where we've gone before, and maybe going to Mars or Pluto or exploring more outwards is your perfect expression.
Now, everything I try to, even when you speak now, I feel like you speak from that place of that you can't put in words, but it's the connection to the now, or the non-duality that connects you to life and makes you a channel through which life speaks basically through you. And that's a very high vibration by itself, that like that will have a, from your experience, outside manifestation that is very positive, because there's the one teaching where people consciously are using thought and to guide their thoughts, to guide their emotions, or visualize the wish already fulfilled, which is a very purposefully, and you have to, like, you can find techniques and you can find all these things and it works. And then and that's where the power of life channels through it, right? And then I feel like the place that you go is you connect directly with the one source, where right now you talk through it, through me. And it's similar to, like, it's so funny that you said the beggar, because Eckhart Tolle, when he was sitting on the park bench, he had nothing.
Yeah.
But that was the beginning. And then, but he was so happy and blissful. And then life, consciousness had to speak through him. And he wrote this books, and now his net worth is $70 million.
Oh, wow.
I wonder if, from your experience, your connection to the now and that expression that I guess life wants to express itself too, does this have the same effect as manifesting by purpose, or it's even cooler? It might be even better from your experience. Is that the same process?
No.
No?
Speaking directly from source, this is where it's complex. Speaking directly from source, from this moment, is pure love, has no desire. But the character has desire. So then the character is the timeline. So you could think of it like, you know, the cross that Jesus was hung on. So speaking from non-duality is like the vertical line of the cross. And then the character, you could say, is the horizontal line. And most people are identified with that horizontal line and have totally forgotten the other line, the vertical line of this moment. They're just involved in the timeline. So in this moment, it's without any purpose or any goal, and it's love, and it has no objective. But then in the timeline, the horizontal line, which is simultaneously happening, there is desire. And what's so beautiful about the image of Jesus in the cross is that the cross meets where his heart resides. So the horizontal line and the vertical line meet where Jesus crosses, where Jesus's heart is. Mm-hmm. So it's like we hold these two realities. So Lisa's character has desire in this moment, but there's another part that's speaking from a place without desire.
So you always connect. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it's kind of bringing those two together. And Nisargadatta Maharaj, his famous quote is, "To know I'm love is everything. To know I'm nothing is wisdom, and in between my life resides." So it's kind of holding the impersonal and the personal together. And so Lisa's got desires on the character level. When you're totally identified with the character, they turn into something I would maybe call, and what Buddhists call, craving. Mm-hmm. So it's no longer just natural desires, it's this craving because you've forgotten who you truly are and you feel disconnected. And so there's this desperate seeking to achieve home, to get home within your desires, which will never be fulfilled. You'll never fulfill yourself within your desires. So when you're identified, you're looking for the resolution in the horizontal line of you, whereas the resolution is in the vertical line of now, which is completely impersonal and beyond you. So every speaker, I believe, and this is what I try to communicate, has a conditioned personality that has desires. And sometimes this can get a bit muddled because it is like it is kind of confusing to articulate. So I have a desire now on the human level to express myself, to express love, and it feels like it comes from the heart. But then there's this other level that has no desire, it's just love, and it's just a happening. Mm-hmm. I also have another desire on the human level of empathy towards you, so in the sense that like I want you to flourish, like just speaking, just you and me, like there's another where I feel empathy for you as a human, like I empathize. Maybe empathy or compassion is maybe a better word. So there's this other one where I want you to flourish. And when also we were speaking and you were talking about that I speak from the absolute place, on the human level, on the character level, there was a flash of embarrassment. There was a moment of embarrassment where I felt this embarrassment just came up of like a, that seems quite grandiose to claim, like to sit there and to claim to lots of people this connection to source. That seems like a very personal, private thing, but because I'm doing these talks, like, I have to expose that. There's a teacher called Tony Parsons that calls it the open secret. And in a way it is a secret, and for most people that have this realization, it remains a secret.
But with that, you're freeing a lot of people, and not everyone has, I mean, most people aren't that, like, let source flow through them like that. And that's why it's not special on a character base, but it's special on the base that you heal a lot of people by being free, and then other people are free. And whereas people who are so identified with ego, like, I don't want to like call out someone, but like, for example, like the past version of Kanye West, and he speaks and he might pull people into ego then because they try to play out what he's playing out. Not to say that that's, I come more and more to the point where I believe that there's no good and bad, and that it's just life playing itself out, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, who doesn't want to be joyful? Who doesn't want to be free? Who doesn't want to like express? And then when there's someone like you speaking, who I feel like you found a connection. I mean, I feel like I found a connection, but these people are so important. And I guess what you're saying is that, just I try to understand, but what you're saying is that I feel like what came to me is that we all got this gift from source where we actually can access the knowledge ourselves. We just have to connect to source, to life, and then
Totally.
we will say it again.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's just in my language, I would say it not totally different, but I'd say it differently in the sense that, like, it's not exactly a person that can connect to it. It's this shift that can happen from being personal to not being personal, like this remembering of an impersonal element that was already there, but it's not really a personal thing, but it affects the personal. Like, that's just my language though, and I also could phrase it in the way that you phrase it, and not have an issue with it. It's like the remembering this quality, this element to us that's beyond us.
So if the mind is not capable to connect to it, so to say, if the mind is not capable to connect to it,
no, the mind appears in it. The mind
is in it. Yes,
the mind is being watched by it. So the thoughts, the feelings, the ideas, the one that says I've got it, lost it, is all being experienced by that. So anything that comes and goes is not consciousness, is not the watcher. In another way, it is it, because consciousness is all things. But when you're pointing out, you're trying to say it's not this, not that, not this, not that. You can't say both simultaneously. It's impossible in our current language. But so anything that you think or feel cannot be that solid watcher. It is something that comes and goes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
How did you manage then? Like, how did you, or even like at this point, I mean, you still, I mean, even if I ask how to connect, it's like the mind, but how to connect? I mean, how I mean, because I feel like it's the same what Eckhart Tolle is the power of now, and then when you connect it to now or life, it's just something else that you talk. And you talk non-duality, but it's that how to connect to that point, and then we can receive from source whatever we need. But
Yeah.
what is your process like? How do you stay where you are, and how are you connected? How do you connect?
In the beginning, it appeared like effort. So it appeared like something that I was doing and something that I was realizing. And then after time, it kind of took over and just was there. Like, so it's maybe like the same when you learn the guitar. So they say that, after you've done 10,000 hours, like your subconscious takes over, and they say that's like when you become truly creative, like you become an expert. So you no longer like have to consciously do it. It just happens. Mm-hmm. Like, so you play and it's just happening. So a lot of people that have practiced the guitar, say for 10,000 hours, can just pick it up, maybe hear a piece of music and then just start playing it, or they can just play a song, they can just make up songs. And they say that 10,000 hours is the point in which you become an expert. So that's an example, but it's not really the body that's doing it unconsciously. It's that something, like it's like an elastic band just breaks. So at first you're like stretching the elastic band through practice, and then at some point it just breaks and it's just there, it's just known. And this is where people become very frustrated with non-duality, because there becomes a point where you can't force it. You can't make yourself get there. It's something that will happen, like that's for sure, but you can't make it happen, like learning the guitar or like learning to sing.
But you use some effort in the beginning. You use the process to get the ball rolling. What do you?
And that's like, that would be my advice to people, is to practice presence and to go deeper into your feelings. So when you're having mind stories about how this isn't fair or that isn't fair, or lots of thought activity, like go into the body and uncover what it is that you're feeling on a deeper level, and then stay with that feeling. Like use your focus in your practice of putting your attention in the present moment to put it into the painful feelings. And then also I teach another part of like transforming that into a positive feeling through using something like law of attraction. Like, so normally the negative feeling has a want. So if you're sad, it has a want. Or if you're angry, it has a want. And then it's like accessing that and then imagining that want to bring the vibration up. And that's kind of the main techniques that I teach. But it comes with two precursors, and that is that, number one, the idea that I'm giving you prescription is an idea. Like, who would I be giving prescription to? It may or may not happen. So I will suggest these practices, and that may or may not happen. And that's down to God's will. Almost the same way as in when you do law of attraction, you say what it is that you want. You desire a house, and then you give it to God. If it delivers it, you give it to life. Like, you put your heart there, and then life will give back what is needed in that situation. So it's I can say do these practices, but it's not your choice to do them, because who are you? So that's one part. And then the next part is the idea that will get you to enlightenment is an idea, because again, who is this you that's going to get enlightened? That doesn't mean don't do it. It's just questioning and undoing all these belief systems of you. Who is
because
this you?
we are already enlightened. It's just we have to uncover it. And since you said the access point is the now, what's your best advice for getting deepest into the now?
On the human level, it's putting your attention into the moment. So you're putting your attention back into the moment, into the feelings, into what's actually happening rather than what you're imagining. So that's on
But
the
there's so
human
much
level.
happening. I mean, there's feelings, there's the outside, there's you can touch things, you can see things.
Yeah, you can kind of begin to learn to practice to put it on all of that simultaneously. But for some
Okay.
people, that might be overwhelming depending on your sensory makeup. But you could also just focus on one thing, like feeling or sight. But you can also maybe begin to develop like an overall, like a awareness. So that would, on the human level, that's what I'd recommend. But on the absolute level, like it's so on the other level, like who is it that's
That wants
separating
to,
you now from the
yeah.
now? Like, who is this? Like, so there is now happening, and then there is this person that's imagining that it's not now.
Oh my God, that's yes. That is so simple, but it's
Yeah,
so real.
and
It's so real.
it does because it produces all these energies. So it really feels like you are in time, that you came into this room, that you're going into time, and then your imagination's going of what you've done and what you haven't done, but it's always now. Like you can never escape it, no matter how much you run away. Like you go to the moon and you're still now.
You know, that is so funny what you just said because it's so, but it just opened my perspective so much, and it's so funny that you said that because recently I was hiking and I was at Runny Canyon, and like you can actually, for me, what I realized the into the now, if you are aware of everything and if you are behind everything, like and I think it's the acceptance that is the acceptance of everything is a huge access point to the now. Because what I did was I was like, okay, I didn't feel that good, I guess, and then or a little bit anxiety, and I just went behind it, and I was like, who's this person that has this anxiety? And then I went even behind that. Who's that person that has to even think about that there's a person who has
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
anxiety? And I went behind that and behind that and behind that, and it was these as if you like go behind curtain, behind curtain, behind curtain, and then you see you are actually already always in the now.
Yeah,
It's just you are seeing in like curtains, and if you encompass everything and you just accept everything and you find with everything, with all the thoughts, with all the emotions, you
yeah,
accept the thoughts, you accept the emotions, you accept all these things. That's when I had these like awakenings, and I was like so free and happy and there and
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah, it's so true. It, what you said, it is that you can be aware of everything and then you are in the now.
And and also the acceptance is what consciousness is. It's what life is. Like this moment. So when you see beyond the personal, this moment isn't rejecting the light. This moment isn't rejecting the heat. This moment isn't rejecting someone shouting. This moment isn't rejecting the ugliness or the beauty. There is a character in that that might be rejecting it. But this moment, so this other part of you, this bigger part, is never rejecting anything that's appearing. And so what's happening in the person when you're accepting and accepting, accepting, is it's almost like a bypassing of that person. It doesn't mean in a personal level that you have to accept a bear eating you if you're out hiking.
Yeah.
It's that it's that your nature, your essence beyond the character, is always in total acceptance. It loves everything. Like it embraces everything. And this is where the freedom lies.
I can't even define the word acceptance because that's like because I was like asking myself just now, what is acceptance? But it's kind of like a feeling of being fine with everything or accepting everything. And as you said that right now, I felt that this is kind of a miraculous way into transformation or into the now.
Mm. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's, yeah,
My
I have an
pleasure, Jim.
opening to, yeah. I try to actually I tried to get a call with you over your website, but I saw you until you booked, I think till December or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
You don't have any openings before if I email you or something?
Yeah. I can. If you email me, I can put you on the waiting list. And what happens particularly with Corona is that I have holiday plans or I've got retreats planned. They keep getting cancelled, so I do have openings happening in the next couple of months.
Okay, that's great. So your email is on the website
Yeah,
probably.
there's a
So I'll
box
just
that you can just fill it in and say that, or you can just put your email here and I'll put it into the waiting list. You can just send a message here and I'll do it on Skype.
oh, on Skype. Okay, I'll put
Yeah.
it in. Thank
Yeah,
you so
nice.
much. I really appreciate it. It
With
was a great,
pleasure, Tim.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
really
had
lovely
such an
to meet you.
opening. I'm in the US, so I woke up, I wanted to speak to you. I woke up early. I was like,
Oh,
I'm
nice.
gonna I'm gonna speak to Lisa today.
Yeah, nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Lots of love.
You too.
Bye. Oh, nice. That was beautiful.